everyone, and welcome to the Debrief on ABC News Live. I'm Kimberly Brooks. Thanks so much for joining us. New demonstrations in Hong Kong. We're on the ground with the latest there. Plus, President Trump heads to the G7 summit in France. And we're talking to one of MTV's Music Video Award nominees, Tiny. But first, here are your headlines.
New satellite images show the widespread fires burning in the Amazon rainforest. You can see large areas of once forest land has been cleared while several fires are smoldering nearby. Brazil's president says his country needs help fighting these fires, but a U.S. senator blames the Brazilian government for allowing ranchers and farmers to set fires to clear the land. Senator Brian Schatz of Hawaii says all U.S. aid to Brazil should be suspended until that country stops encouraging the deforestation.
Billionaire David Koch, a longtime contributor to conservative causes and former executive vice president at Koch Industries, has died. He was 79 years old.
27 people injured in Sacramento, California, when a light rail transit train derailed. Only 2 of the injuries considered moderate. Officials describe the others hurt as walking wounded. What caused the train to go off the tracks is undetermined. Investigators looking into witness reports of some kind of a collision.
Hawaiian Airlines flight, they had to make an emergency landing in Honolulu after smoke filled that cabin.
Hawaiian 47, visual full right emergency aircraft. We will be on escalating on the runway.
The emergency personnel are standing by.
Everybody on board was very, very nervous. Babies and children were crying and screaming.
As soon as the jet stops, the pilots deploy the slides to quickly evacuate the Airbus A321. 5 adults and 2 children taken to the hospital because of smoke inhalation. Hawaiian Airlines says an engine seal failed, allowing hot oil to burn and bleed into the cabin air system.
We begin in Hong Kong, where the marches and demonstrations for autonomy continue. Nearly millions of pro-democracy protesters have been in the streets for the past 11 weeks, springing up organically throughout the week and sometimes clashing with riot police. So Ian Panel is there on the ground with the latest. Ian?
Hi there, Kimberly. Well, have a look at this. A human chain in Hong Kong. You think that's many people? Have a look down there. It goes on for yard after yard, mile after mile. They're commemorating, sending messages, people from Germany, from Poland, from America, from Vietnam, from the United Kingdom. Have a look at this. America, thank you for supporting freedom and democracy from Hong Kongers. So this doesn't stretch through central Hong Kong only, it also goes on the other side of the water. Once again, these people are calling for freedom, for democracy, for human rights. And once again, they're facing opposition from the government to their 5 key demands. The government, of course, backed by Beijing. This is just one of many protests that have been taking place. Let's carry on walking down the line. Many protests have been taking place across Hong Kong today. We even had accountants out earlier today doing a rather polite and organised protest. But this weekend there are more planned, more disruption is expected involving the airport. What they're planning to do is block the express railway, also the roads heading to the airport to try and slow people down from getting there. They're no longer allowed to enter the airport after the scenes of 10 days ago, but that's their strategy for this weekend. Of course, if they cause disruption, it ain't legal and the police will be expected to respond. But for now, for the last 10 days, there's been a very peaceful protest, but there is an expectation that could change once again this coming weekend. Kim?
All right, Ian, thank you so much for that. That was incredible to see. And guys, we move on to a bizarre case of massive cyber fraud. An FBI takedown as part of what investigators say is an international organized crime ring, mostly in Los Angeles and Nigeria, targeting everyday people and corporations. The U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California speaking about these arrests here. Take a listen.
I believe this is one of the largest cases of its kind in U.S. history. The fraudsters will often hack a company's email system, impersonate company personnel, and direct payments to bank accounts that funnel money back to the fraudsters in Nigeria.
So I want to bring in Clayton Sandell, who is following this story. Clayton, this is unreal. You know, 14 people were arrested, but I want you to explain to us how all of this went down.
Yeah, 14 people arrested, but there are 80 suspects worldwide in this scheme that we're all kind of familiar with. We've all gotten these emails from a certain Nigerian prince who is offering to share his vast money, wealth, fortune with you as long as you just hand over your bank account number. So this is kind of a supercharged version of that, but far more sophisticated, in which these scammers, officials say, were able to target individuals, target businesses with months-long schemes in order to steal money. It was sort of twofold. On the one hand, they were targeting individuals, vulnerable people who were elderly, broken-hearted. For example, there was one woman in Florida who, 48-year-old widow, she started an online relationship with a man on Facebook who convinced her that he was a military doctor stationed overseas, told her they couldn't talk on the phone because he wasn't allowed to talk on the phone, so they just communicated over email and text and messaging. She ended up wiring him $87,000. So that is how these schemes tended to work. And this woman told the FBI that she even considered suicide after finding out that she had been duped. So in other cases, there was an 87-year-old woman who lost $200,000. And the FBI said that she was suffering from dementia and she was taken advantage of by these scammers. The other big way that this has gone down is the scammers have used these things called business email compromise schemes. So it's like you get an email that appears to be from someone within your company, that appears to be a legitimate official. You click on the link, and all of a sudden you've given the scammers access to the company's email system. And so what they would do is target the certain people within a company who are responsible for wire transfers, figure out the protocol, and convince these people to send thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to fake businesses that were set up by the scammer. So multitude of ways that this went down, but in the end, $6 million, $6 to $10 million was stolen, and they tried to steal another $40 million.
Wow. Clayton, it's really unbelievable. And when you're talking about the women who were essentially catfished, you know, you normally think of scams as happening fast, but it's amazing how they were doing these over the course of 10 months or almost a year.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to the sophistication of these things, because it wasn't just a quick hit where they went in and stole this money immediately. The way that it became more effective for them is to build relationships with these people over weeks and months, convince them that they were in love, convince them that they wanted to get married. And in the case of the businesses, studying these businesses, they said they would take weeks to figure out who the company officials were and really get into the nitty-gritty of how they would transfer money and all the protocols and things like that. So the more they studied, the more they paid attention to these things, the more money they got.
And Clayton, just before we go, when we talk about cyber scams, oftentimes Nigeria does come up and is associated with these. Why is that?
These schemes are generally associated with Nigeria because that is where the first big wave of them came from. But prosecutors noted yesterday that the suspects in this case are all over the world in many different countries. So it's kind of spread from Nigeria to all over, but that's kind of where they originated.
All right, Clayton Sandell in Denver with the updates. Thank you so much for the information. Thank you. And we move overseas to France, where the president will be joining world leaders at the G7 summit this weekend. And in case you didn't know, the 7 countries are France, the UK, Japan, Germany, Italy, Canada, and the U.S. These meetings didn't go so well last year, with President Trump failing to agree on major issues, including climate change. So we shall see. But our Meredith McGraw is there now ahead of this weekend's summit. So Meredith, good to see you. And before we even talk about this, beautiful scene behind you there, living your best life. It's gorgeous.
I know, hardship assignment here.
So I want to talk about the summit. What are the major objectives? What are they trying to accomplish this year?
Well, the G7 is often likened to a dysfunctional family reunion, as a group of 7 leaders from around the world descend on the ritzy resort town of Biarritz, France, not far from here. They're facing serious global issues like trade, terrorism, the global economy, Iran, North Korea, and more global national security issues. But with that, too, they are all traveling here with their own domestic political baggage. Giuseppe Conte from Italy just recently resigned. Prime Minister Boris Johnson is going to make his international debut here as he tries to hash out a Brexit deal before Halloween. And, of course, the biggest factor in all of this is going to be President Trump and what exactly he will bring to this meeting here as they try to hash out everything from trade to security issues.
Yeah, and Meredith, do we have an idea of what the president's goals are here this weekend?
The president comes ready to address a full agenda here, the economy, and of course, like I said, tackling things like Iran and North Korea. But the president has also signaled that he's not afraid to go his own way. As you can remember, in years past, some critics have called the G7 the G6+1 or the G7-1 because of President Trump's affinity to break with the group, especially on things like climate change. President Trump is coming here tomorrow, and of course will be meeting with 6 different world leaders, according to the White House, and he seems the most excited about meeting with the United Kingdom's Boris Johnson. That'll be their first one-on-one meeting, and the president says that he's hoping to potentially reach a trade deal with Johnson.
And Meredith, before we go, you mentioned the economy, and he's still tweeting about it this morning. Do you feel like the mixed signals that he's been sending will come up during these talks?
Certainly. President Trump, the entire week, has been sending mixed signals and has been going against his own administration even on how he plans to address what could be a potential recession back in the United States. The president tweeted this morning that the economy is strong and good, whereas the rest of the world is not doing so well, in a potential slight to his G7 allies here. And despite this, the fake news media is working overtime to convince the people that we are going into a recession. And there have been real warning signs that that is the direction the U.S. economy is going in. And there were rumors that the president could do a tax cut to potentially stave off some of that. But he said he's not planning on doing that, even going against what we had been hearing from the White House this past week. So we'll wait and see what happens when the president arrives here tomorrow.
Definitely waiting, and we shall see. So Meredith McGraw right there in France, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And guys, we're going to check back in on the 2020 race. Still a large field, but more folks dropping out with only a few days left to qualify for the ABC News debate, which is going to be in September. So I want to bring in our Mary Alice Parks and our D.C. bureau. Mary Alice, we talked about this. Governor Jay Inslee yesterday dropped out, and now Representative Seth Moulton. Is this the beginning of a mass exodus?
I don't think it's a mass exodus yet, but it is the beginning of a pattern that we expect will accelerate. Look, Democratic voters have been eager for the field to start to narrow, and that's why the Democratic Party put in place these benchmarks that candidates have to meet in order to qualify for the debates. Like you said, campaigns only have until Wednesday to meet those requirements and qualify for our debate in September. And frankly, some campaigns know that they're just not going to hit the mark.
So the debate is coming up, as you mentioned, and if people are not qualified at this point, what can they do to make sure they get on that stage?
Right. There are some that are on the cusp that maybe will be able to qualify for the October debate. It's the same requirements for September and October. They need donors, small dollar grassroots donors, individual donors from a number of states, but they also need to show that they're moving in the polls. And the polls are important because it's only national polls or early state polls which count. So some candidates have been able to really spend advertising dollars, boost their name ID in some of those early states, and basically qualify because they've met some marks in the early state pollings that way. It's been controversial, these benchmarks from the party. A lot of the campaigns think that they're not fair, think that they're too soon. Nonetheless, already 10 campaigns have qualified for September. There are a few more candidates who are close, so we'll see where that final number ends up.
Yeah, and just before we go, who are the candidates that are close? If there was going to be an 11 and a number 12, who do you think that would be?
Tom Steyer, who is a sort of billionaire businessman, who I was sort of alluding to as someone who went in, spent a lot of money on ads in early states, kind of boosted his name ID. He's pretty close to qualify. And Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard is as well. She's the congresswoman from Hawaii. She's really interesting right now because she's actually been off of the campaign trail the last few weeks. She was an Army Reserve member. She was called to active duty for some training. She will be hitting the campaign trail back again next week. We'll see if it's in time to make it and to qualify.
All right, Mary Alice Parks in our D.C. Bureau, thank you so much. We appreciate it always. And guys, as we have told you before, August is Black Business Month, and we've been highlighting some really awesome people of color doing their thing. And so this week, I hung out with 3 Black owners of Harlem Hops. It's a craft beer bar. You heard that right. Black people like craft beer too, and these 3 were tired of going all the way to Brooklyn to find what they love. So Kevin Bradford, Kim Harris, and Stacey Lee opened up a space with good beer, good food, and good vibes, as you will see. Check it out.
So what do you think it means to be Black-owned right here in Harlem? This is the first of its kind, yes?
Yes.
Why do you think that's so important for this community?
It's important to, especially for the youth of the community, to see people that look like them being entrepreneurs, to give them hope when, you know, conditions, you never know what conditions they exist in. So that was important, you know, for me, for sure, because I'm from here, you know what I mean? And I remember making a commitment when I was graduating from high school that I would start a business in Harlem, and I got a scholarship from an essay that I wrote about what I wanted to do when I came back into my community. It was not that many new places, you know, developing. There were a couple of new places, and I was like, we can revitalize this neighborhood so that we don't have to go downtown all the time to, you know, have drinks and everything else. It's like, you know, it needed to become a community again. It was losing its sense of community.
A big HBCU component. You guys are very proud. Everyone here from an HBCU. Okay, which ones?
Clark Atlanta.
Clark Atlanta, proud. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, and you?
Hampton.
Hampton.
Yeah.
How does that filter into what you're doing here?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, we're unapologetically Black-owned. We're HBCU graduates. We believe in education. We believe education is freedom. That's why we created the Harlem Hopes Scholarship, where we actually provide a scholarship to a graduating senior that's attending an HBCU.
Wow.
You know, our alma mater is I'll find a way or make one.
What do you offer here? You have the beer. What types of beer do you have? There's also food, there's music, there's lots of things.
Yeah, well, you know, the list that we have up here, we try to stay local. We just actually did a collaboration group in a borough, Root and Branch, all these local guys. You know, it's coming here. You're getting it right from the source, you know, instead of having it shipped from 3 states over.
Kevin, number 5. Okay, number 5. Kevin, number 5. You gotta say.
Number 5. Let's go. Number 5.
Number 5 coming up.
Doing a good job teaching.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Miss Kim, a perfect number 5 for you.
Thank you.
Enjoy that, my darling. This is what occurred to me as you were talking. This is why this seems like an outer body experience almost, a new experience, because there's a stigma attached to what beer drinking is, right?
Yeah. Correct, there is. Especially in our community, like in the 90s, we were inundated with malt liquor products, and that's what we thought beer was supposed to be. And then it kind of helped, you know, it destroyed the health of our community. So it's critical for us to reintroduce a different style of beer to our people, and this is part of the reason why we only use craft spirits and craft beers, because it has a shelf life. So that means it's real. It's real ingredients, it's fresh, it's not mass distributed.
So this is like a boutique experience.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you proud of yourselves?
Absolutely.
We're doing good. We're doing good.
Such a cool spot, so you guys are going to have to check that out. It's in Harlem, so make sure you stop by. And if you were up early yesterday, then hopefully you checked out Taylor Swift, who was performing on Good Morning America. Well, now she has released her new album, Lover. She dropped it at midnight, and it sold over 1 million copies before it was even available. And in Central Park yesterday, she said she's most excited for this album. You want to know why? Because she owns it. So we'll be seeing her perform Monday on the VMAs. And speaking speaking of the MTV Video Music Awards, who's not excited? We're looking forward to this every year, specifically for the performers and the guests and, of course, the nominees. So I have a nominee with me right here, two-time Latin Grammy Award winner, Record of the Year Grammy nominee with Cardi B for the song I Like It, and now nominated for Best Latin Song at the VMAs, I Can't Get Enough with Selena Gomez, Puerto Rican producer Tiny. What does it even feel like to hear all of these accolades? I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, but now here you are.
No, it's still crazy. Like, I'm still like adjusting to all of these things. Like, when I started to do this, like producing and coming into music, I just wanted it to do because it was fun, because I wanted like my friends to like feel good and probably have artists say like, you're doing the right thing. But now, like a couple years later, to be in these positions where I never thought I would be, like it's just mind blowing.
Are you excited? Because I feel like I'm so excited for you. I'm trying to contain it a little bit, but I need you to be excited with me.
Oh yeah, no, I really am. Sometimes I need to just like sit back and just realize exactly what's happening, because everything just happens so fast.
Yes.
I try to stay calm and ready for when things come, but everything is so crazy. I'm excited. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel when I'm over there. Like, I grew up watching the VMAs, and just to be over there alongside all of these like amazing artists, producers, like
it's incredible.
Crazy. Yeah.
Another thing that's incredible is the video for I Can't Get Enough. We have a clip of it, so I just want to play a little bit because we've been watching it all morning. So let's check it out.
I'll be fine alone, long as you're alone with me. So incredible, unforgettable on me. Keep your body on me, 'cause I can't get enough. Yeah, I can't get enough.
It's epic. It's a whole vibe. It's a whole mood. And we have to talk about the bed. The bed is crazy, and you posted something where you showed the making of it.
Exactly.
The making of, it was actually a big bed. That wasn't like a camera trick.
Exactly. It's literally a huge bed, and you know, some people like when you see it, it feels like it's like CGI or like green screen and stuff. But I wanted for the people to see like exactly this is really a huge bed.
They brought it in and y'all did it.
Yeah, man. So like going into that set and looking at everything, because like it's one thing from coming up with the idea with the guys and listening to what is supposedly the idea for the video, but you don't really like picture it in your head. But as soon as you step into the set and you see that everything is like real, it's a totally different like mindset.
And that looks like it was really fun to make.
I think it's the funnest video I've ever done. Like it just felt like cool. Like we were just like over there. Like every artist was like happy, and it wasn't like they needed to do this and this, or it was just like just have fun.
You were
just bouncing
around
around a bed. Like you can't ask for anything else.
And it's a banger.
Exactly.
And there you go. So I want to ask you about something, because we were looking at this report. One of the producers, Victoria, she showed me this report that came out in 2018, and it said that Latin music is a more popular genre than country and EDM. So I want to hear what you think of this explosion and like the role reggaeton has played in all of this.
It's just amazing. It's something that we can't really understand. Like I came into the game when the genre was like starting to like explode and get out of, because it was mainly Puerto Rico like when it started, and then seeing that it started to get to other places where they can know what we do, what we're about. And nowadays, seeing that there's so many artists that I admire or looked up to, and they're looking at us and probably like saying, we like your music. Like that for us is a total accomplishment. And seeing all these guys like keep pushing and breaking boundaries, like going to different stages that we were never there before. Like the VMAs is something that we never ever like really done. Like probably Daddy Yankee, I think, is the only guy that could like come close to like doing these things. And now it's like there's more and more artists like they keep growing, they keep looking at us, and we keep like expanding all over the world. And to see where we are right now is something that I never imagined. And hopefully it stays like this and keeps growing and keeps adding, because it's good music, and that's what we want, like, to do good music.
It's great music. Like, if people don't dance to your sounds, your beats, then it's ridiculous. You've literally worked with everybody. I think we have a list of all the people that you've worked with, but who's left? Who else do you want to work with?
But you know what? Like, there's so many people that I've worked with that I never thought that I would work with, but there's still, like, a lot more that I wish that I could, like, keep adding into that list. And you know, I'm such a fan of music that at the end of the day, like, whether it's like this type of genre or another one, like, there's always somebody. So I don't know if I could give you people from the top of my head. It's probably more people that I've, like, grown up admiring. So two of those guys are Pharrell Williams, like, and that tune's, like, that's a huge inspiration for me. So I don't know, just to be in the studio with him and like get a little bit of his knowledge.
That happening.
That would be amazing for me. So the Neptunes was something important for me. So I think that's something that I'm aiming for, and even more and more artists. But yeah, like, if I could give you one, that would be the
Make sure you say that on the stage at the VMAs.
Hey, I'll try.
Give a shout out to Pharrell. And before we go, I mean, so you're nominated for that song of Selena Gomez, but you actually just released a single today, Adicto. So we have a clip of that too. Amazing, unbelievable. So I think we're gonna play some of it. Yes?
Amazing.
Yes.
Han pasado varios días y estoy enfermo de ti. Dime que me hiciste mal. De mi memoria yo no te puedo borrar. Dios me va a castigar, le prometí te iba a olvidar. No hay por qué seguir mintiendo. El tiempo está corriendo y no se puede parar. La soledad me
So dope, Tiny.
Thank
like
you so much.
You sitting there, like, when you see this, I mean, it's so incredible. It's so incredible.
Thank you so much.
And you're appearing more and more in these videos now because you have a new album coming out.
Exactly. So I'm going into this, like, part of my career where I'm trying to put my vision out there and have all these guys that I've worked with before and people that I haven't even worked yet, like, come together and just, like, make this body of work.
Just vibe out.
Exactly.
I love it. And you're doing it in 2 languages, which is even more crazy. So we're going to be looking for you on Monday at the VMAs. We're wishing you all the best. You are like a rock star. You're a legend.
Appreciate it.
Thanks
you so
for
much.
being
Thank
here.
You for having me.
Of course,
Appreciate
of course. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And guys, before we go, I was all the way up early this morning in Central Park at the Good Morning America concert series. And today I was chatting with Mr. French Montana, and he brought some friends, Remy Ma, Sway Lee, Fat Joe. It was bananas, so take a quick look.
Uh-oh, right here. Yeah. Fat Joe, what's up? Happy birthday. Opportunity. You guys are going to perform your songs on stage, but right now, with all of you guys here, I think you guys should do a little freestyle. Yes. Yes. Good morning, America. Let's do the freestyle.
So much fun, guys. So much good music. I can't get enough of it. We really hope you guys have an amazing weekend and continue to take care of yourselves. And if you're around, you can stick around for the briefing room at 3:30 p.m. Then you can check out World News Prime at 8 p.m. And we have a new show, Nightline Weekend, that's going to be airing this weekend. And if you want to stay updated on all of these headlines, you can go to abcnews.com or download the app. Enjoy yourself, spread love, and we'll see you next week.